Hi, in this video we'll be talking about equivalent fractions. And the most important thing that you can take from this video is the fact that there are infinitely many different ways of giving the same exact fraction. And these infinitely many different ways are called equivalent fractions. So, for example, if I have the fraction 8 over 12, I can divide that fraction by 1 or multiply that fraction by 1 and it would still be the same fraction. I'm sure you agree. But remember that there are many versions of 1. For example, 2 over 2, that's 1, right? Exactly. All right, great. So now that you have that in mind, here's what I want you to think of. Think of factors, common factors of 8 and 12. Well, 2 is a common factor of 8 and 12. 4 is also a common factor of 8 and 12. So we can go ahead and we can divide by different versions of 1. We can divide by 4 over 4. That's essentially just dividing by a whole, which would keep the number the same. But when you divide by 4 over 4, you get 2 over 3. Now, is that a different fraction? It looks different, but it's actually equivalent. If we divided by 2 over 2, we would have gotten another version of an equivalent fraction. So you may be wondering now, well, you said there were infinitely many, and you divided by 4 over 4, we could have divided by 2 over 2, but what next? Isn't that all? Well, no, because you can actually multiply by infinitely many things to get other equivalent fractions. They'll be less simple, but they're still equivalent fractions. So for example, I could have taken my fraction 8 over 12, and I could have divided by a whole, multiplied by a whole. Let's say I wanted my whole to be 10 over 10. So multiplying the top by 10, the bottom by 10, and then I could get 80 over 120. And that's also an equivalent fraction. Now, there are infinitely many ways to do this, and I don't want to make an infinitely long video, so I'm going to leave it with one more thought. If you're ever asked to simplify a fraction, that's just another way of saying find an equivalent fraction that is as small as can be. In order to do that, you want to make sure you're dividing by the GCF over the GCF. So this is simplified because the greatest common factor of 8 and 12 is 4, and we divided by 4 over 4, and we got the simplest possible version of 8 over 12. You also know it's the simplest possible version because now there are no common factors left. Once there are no common factors left, you know you've fully simplified your fraction. All right, have fun.